careful.
5 years before her death in 1979, Elizabeth Bishop said, "When you write my epitaph, you must say that I was the loneliest person who ever lived." While all of us dread periods of isolation such as these, Bishop sought them. She said that to be alone is to go on voyages of discovery and to find the islands of imagination. It is as if being with people were the earth of the mind, the land with its hills and valleys, scent and music. But in being alone, the mind finds its sea, the wide, quiet plain with different lights in the sky and different, more secret sounds. There is enjoyment to be found in being alone. Nevertheless, this long period of loneliness is burdening many. The social and economic problems caused by this lockdown are jogging alongside an assemblage of psychological vexations and hurdles. One of these days I was stumbling around the house and came across a small 1970s book titled Love. I remember the author, an eccentric Italian professor, talking about the importance of touching people you care about. He talks about his childhood. He grew up in a household where touch was a prerequisite. You kiss your father and mother when you see them in the morning, when you come home from school, and when you go to bed. You kiss your sisters, brothers, closest friends, and so on. When he's older, he goes to an American school and kisses the teacher goodbye.
And sometimes
he couldn't fathom why he was in so much trouble. He said that he still likes to show his affections through physical contact, but he has had to learn to operate within society's norms. Our society is less fond of touching and more fond of decency, and so sometimes we forget the importance of touch. Maybe this is a good reminder. But this is hard. Before this pandemic, I was certain of my ability to be alone for long periods of time. I felt blessed by quarantine. For ages, I hadn't had the chance to recuperate and think about myself and what I wanted. At school, I felt as if everybody was doing things all the time and thinking about things all the time, but all I could do was stare at things all the time. My concentration seemed an elusive abstraction. I constantly looked for it, by staring at the walls, ceilings, and floors. I tried to think about things that were useful, but constantly failed. At the beginning of lockdown, it worsened. The sweeping flurry of everyday life had ceased, and I didn't know where to put myself, so I would leave me alone. Hours, days, and weeks seemed to mush into one everlasting continuum. It's unfair, I thought. During the Great Plague that hit London in 1665, when Isaac Newton practiced social distancing, he developed the basis of calculus, developed a theory of optics, and casually noted on how apples fell from trees. My dad's worries were even scarier. He's been a physician in intensive care in South Africa for over 26 years. Watching him march off to work in his scrubs and seeing the anxiety cover his face has been hard. And so, I have come to the profound conclusion that being with me and only me is tiresome, unrewarding, and nerve-wracking. I miss the world and its people.